All right, welcome back to the Triaxle Podcast, episode 13, part 2. We'll pick up about a minute before we left off in episode 13, part 1.
So we're getting sidetracked a little bit here, which is totally fine.
Back and forth.
It's my podcast, and we can do what we want here. But before we were talking before, and you had a really good vision or idea for young people, their junior year, going and trying out some different areas. Lay that out for me again, the way you did before, because I think it's an interesting concept, and we are getting to the point where I think a lot of people are starting to wake up to the fact that college is not what it used to be. It's not what it is presented as. And I think a lot of people are probably listening to this and realizing, I have student debt too, and I went to school for this, and I don't even use that. I think a lot of people are starting to realize, as long as you're willing to work hard, do the right thing, college is not for everybody.
No.
And it wasn't for me. I went for a year, then I left, and I did just fine. I can tell my son, he's kind of like his father's son. I would be shocked if he went. I support him whatever he wants to do. But there's some professions you just don't need it for. What was your concept? What were you telling me before?
Yeah, obviously coming from an educational background, I've spent a lot of time in schools. I mean, I'm 36, so I was going through high school when there was home ec and there was shop class and there was all these different things. I feel that we should restructure schools to where the juniors and seniors start to do internships. Get these kids exposed to different things outside of just college.
Real world shit.
Yeah. Put them in 2 weeks into some industry, whether it is carpentry, whether it is sales, whether it is whatever it might be, manufacturing. Heck, you drive down the road and look at all these machine shops. Everyone needs CNC operators. Let them intern for 2 weeks, but you go for 2 weeks and then you bring the kids back and you put them into a week of recap. Write a few things on what you saw. Let's discuss what you came across. What are your thoughts? What do you think of this? What do you think of that? And after that week, you send them back out for another 2 weeks. And you do that over the course of 6 to 8 weeks, and you get these kids introduced to multiple facets of American life, manufacturing, working jobs, whatever it might be. And after that, if they want to go to college, have at it. But who knows? Maybe some of those kids are going to want to say, I really liked that construction internship. Instead of roofing, I want to do something with excavation. Or instead of electrical work, I want to do something with plumbing. But hell, I spent 8 years of my life in college, and I didn't realize that I didn't want to do that until year 9.
and to a tune of
$140,000.
Yeah. That's an interesting concept. That's the first time I've ever heard anybody actually lay that out. And that's fascinating and it's interesting and it makes sense. And it would keep these young people engaged and keep them interested. I didn't do good in high school at all. I was terrible. I thrived in my shop classes. I lived downstairs in masonry and wood shop. Upstairs, English, I did decent, but everything else, my lack of interest contributed to a lack of focus and a lack of discipline in those areas. I'm just the type of person, if I'm not interested, I don't put a whole lot of effort in unless I absolutely have to. And nobody was forcing me to do good in school. It was like, hey, you can get an A or you can get a D. So I slept on the desk sometimes. That's what I did.
As long as I can pass, let me do it.
That's it. But keeping kids engaged and interested, the public, we're not going to solve the public school system problem here today in the podcast. Maybe after a couple more episodes we can. But I think kids are getting bored and they're just getting kind of pushed through. The public school system is designed to push millions and millions and millions of kids through the same program year after year. Millions and millions and millions of kids, they're not the same people. They don't have the same interest. They don't have the same focus. They don't have the same attention spans. It doesn't work. And I think more every year, I think society in general is starting to realize that and starting to wake up to the fact that this just doesn't work for everybody. And now with some of the other things being pushed into these schools, it's getting even harder to justify having these kids do the same routine year after year after year.
I'm not a high school guidance counselor, so I don't know what they come across on a daily basis. I can only say, based on what I saw in school, both when I was going to school and when I was, working in a school, what they pushed. And I just feel that for a long time it was college.
That was it. If you didn't go to college, you were a loser.
100%.
That was the attitude.
And there is, you look all over the internet and you see these memes that, you have someone who goes to college who is $140,000 in debt or more, who is making $50,000 a year, who is still living at home because they can't afford to buy a house, who is doing all of these things while they have a career that they thought that they might enjoy it, but they're just in debt. And then you have someone who went to an apprentice program, that became a journeyman, that became a foreman, that now runs their own business or is a project, supervisor or whatever for a big union company or whatever, and they're no debt. They're making over 6 figures a year most of the time, have a company vehicle. I would just like to see more push towards that.
I'd like to see more of the opportunity being given. And to choose what you want to do.
Right.
Not just go to college or you're going to be a bum. Because you know what? Some of the most successful people that I know, the people that can buy whatever they want with cash, did not go to school. There's kids up in Gasland. There's young kids, early 20s. They're welding gas pipe. They're making $150K plus a year as 22, 23, 24-year-old kids. They're already putting, some of them have $500,000 in the bank where the kids that they went to school with are just leaving school and leaving with hundreds of thousands of dollars worth of debt.
And have $500,000 in debt.
Yeah, it's crazy.
Funny story. My mother tells me this all the time. My stepfather owned his own rigging business. It was Al Smith Rigging right in Kirkwood, all up and down the East Coast. Great guy. We lost him in 2012. They got married in 2009, and they would go around looking for wedding rings. And if you saw Al, he was 5'6", 5'7", always wore an American flag do-rag, always had jeans on, always had some sort of cutoff shirt or a shirt with a pocket tee. But he was the guy that made himself out of nothing and would walk around with thousands of dollars in cash in his pocket, and you wouldn't even recognize it. And he was automatically judged when they would walk in to look for a wedding ring, and they would get shown the garbage.
Mm-hmm.
You can't afford this.
You shouldn't even be in the store.
You're not walking in with a shirt and tie on.
Right.
We'll show you this. Meanwhile, he's got $12,000 to put down on a ring.
Yeah.
Unfortunately, a lot of people in our society think that you have to go to college, you have to get a career in doctor, attorney, whatever it might be, to be a viable person in this world.
Sure.
You have plenty of people who have made a hell of a living building a business, running, feeding 30 plus families
or hundreds
of families with zero education.
Sure.
I was actually talking to a guy this weekend. He was 26, owns a wrecking business. He has 90 employees, 26 years old.
That's impressive.
90 employees, and he got into it because his dad had Parkinson's or something. But now he's 26. He goes, I didn't even graduate college, or I didn't even graduate high school. I'm sorry. And he's running a business feeding 90 families.
Right.
You can't help but take a step back and go, holy hell, that's a feat and a half.
Sure. And without being encouraged to take those opportunities or go for them, I feel there's been many talented people that have missed opportunities like that because they were coached in a different direction. They were pushed to go a different way. Luckily enough for me, probably pretty annoying for my parents, I was very independent and I kind of just did what I wanted to do. I went to college for a year to please them, and we compromised. So I said I would go to Montana State so I can ski there. That was the compromise. But after the first year, I went to them. I said, "Mom and Dad, I'm wasting your money." They were. I was fortunate enough; they paid for my first year, and I went to them, and I at least had enough sense. I said, "I'm wasting your money. I can't do this anymore. I'm not going to get anything from this. I was looking at, I didn't have a major picked. I didn't have a plan. I remember sitting in like a class and looking at a book of majors to pick. And I was looking at either construction management or helicopter pilot. Helicopter pilot seemed pretty cool. Construction management, I didn't know that if I really wanted to like get a degree and work for a big firm, but I was already doing construction work before I went to school. I was doing construction in high school, and I just felt like that was what I should be doing. And they were like, I don't know if this is a good idea or not, but ultimately they trusted me to do, take my own path, and it worked out. Things have been great. There's been ups and downs and struggles like any other industry and any other business, but it worked out for me, and I know there's a lot of other people out there. It's the right path for them.
I mean, this industry, does have a lot of ups and downs. Does have a lot of make or break moments, and tenacity and being strong-willed push a lot of people through that. Unfortunately, I think that a lot of people either have to be thrown into the position or come across it, or work their way up from the bottom, which is great. But if we can have some way to introduce the trades back into schools in like a 2-week internship or whatever it might be, I think would open the eyes to a lot more people of the availability of other avenues of life out there.
Sure. And I really like that idea. I think it's phenomenal. You and I both know it would take a lot of effort to start introducing something like that into the public school system.
Well, but the thing is there are multiple business owners out there that would say, give me a kid
we
for
would
2
love
weeks.
an intern. Sure.
We would love it.
Yeah.
I would love to put them on the field. I'd love to, not driving a truck, but, helping out wherever. Put them in the office, put them here, put them there. Every business owner that you talk to, I shouldn't say every, 99% of the people would say, let's help. I want to help.
Sure.
I want to take an intern for 2 weeks. Give me 3 of them. We'll put them in different positions. We'll rotate them around, and we'll give them the experience.
Yeah, absolutely. So to implement that in the schools, we know is a feat, and I'd be shocked if it ever happened. But I love the idea. But what we can do is change our attitudes and our perception. So we have this Triaxle Scholarship for the Trades. We are kicking off a scholarship. We're about to release it here in the next week or two. We're offering 2 scholarships to two local high school students at Lackawanna Trail High School here in Dalton, which is where my business is located. And then my high school that I went to, Abington Heights, we're going to give 2 scholarships there. That's year 1. We're hoping it grows and expands. Who knows where it goes? The Lackawanna Trail was extremely supportive. Their woodshop teacher, John Hickok, was phenomenal. He hooked me up with a guidance counselor there. We sat down and had a meeting. They're like, hey, yeah, this is awesome. Like, thank you for introducing this to these kids. What can we do to help you? And on the other hand, my school, I'm ashamed of them because they had no interest. They did not want to participate. I contacted the guidance department a couple times, and they basically said, we're not interested. We don't want to help you do that. And I had an issue with them when I was there in school, like they're all about their image and their perception. They want to be pushing out these scholars that go to these 4-year schools. Like that's the image that they want to portray. And it's friggin' unfortunate because
why would you not want to push out the opportunity for a handful of kids that graduate from your school to be business owners in a construction industry like this?
They have blinders on. I'm so disappointed that they chose to do that. I called them, reached out, and finally I called back again, and they're like, yeah, we're just not interested.
And as an educator and as an educational institution, you should be wanting to do everything you can to broaden the minds of the kids in your school.
Sure.
Not to cap them based on a single funnel system into higher education. If you want to go to college, have at it.
Sure.
But don't cap the kids by saying we're not going to even offer this.
Right. There's 22-year-old kids up in Gasland making double the salaries of those people who said, no, that's a bad idea.
Well, that's, yeah.
So it really makes me angry and it frustrates me. But then, I'm happy that, on the other hand, the other school was arms wide open. Like they're like, this is phenomenal. we can't thank you enough. $2,500 scholarships per kid that we're giving, and we're doing 4 of them. That's a big deal. And they can use that to go to a trade school. They can use that if they show us where they're going to put the money. They can use that to buy tools to go and directly start working for somebody. That's a big boost for a young kid at 18 years old, and extremely disappointing. But that comes down to the perception and the stigma that some of these people are still carrying with these kids not going to a 4-year school and going directly into the trades. And that has to be broken. You need people to do the types of things in that industry. You need somebody putting on your roof, digging holes and, putting in sewer lines. You need that stuff. And then the fact that we're just starting to see society finally kind of come around and be like, yeah, maybe we should encourage these kids to do this stuff.
Unfortunately, I think it took, you have people like Mike Rowe on Dirty Jobs who's going out talking about this nonstop, but then you have, even South Park making literally a parody video about how they have to have all of these, people can't fix their own stuff, so they have to have all these handymen.
I didn't see that, but I'll have to find
it. It's out there. They do a parody of it, and it's true. I mean, so many people are going to be paying attention to the computer and their phone and this, that, and the other thing. And these obviously are things that we need in the day-to-day, but sooner or later, the handyman, the person that can fix whatever, is going to be gold. And we really need to start shuffling kids into that direction.
Absolutely.
Can I ask how you're raising funds for the scholarship?
So I'm funding the first round for this year for those, but we've already seen interest. I've already had other business owners say, hey, if you want me to contribute, I'd be happy to kick in. Some other successful business owners that I know in my local circle here they see what that can do and what, and how much that can benefit. So they've offered, say, hey, if we can help you out, let's kick in. So just to start off this year, I committed to funding it. Now, if I can raise money and have help with that, great. Or if we can raise money and maybe do a third one at each school. Or my vision is I would love to see this expand. I'm not going to set my expectations too high because I don't want to set my sights too high and then not have it work out. But I would love to start getting some local business owners here contributing. Okay, so you kicked in a couple grand, you kicked in a couple grand. Well, let's open this up to another school. Let's start hitting all the schools in this area and just keep kind of going with a farther reach to maybe the school where you graduated from, the business in Tunkhannock that maybe contributes. Okay, well, maybe the scholarship goes here now. So I have a vision of what this can be someday. I'm not, calling it out or I'm not setting my sights, to an unachievable level, but I'm curious to see once we kick it off this year, literally probably next week, we're going to actually formally announce it and start accepting applications. I'm curious to see where it goes. Is
there anything on the Triaxle site that people can go to take a look to see how they might be able to donate or do anything like that? Or?
Not to donate. No, that's where our application is. So people will go to the Triaxle site to go on there. But I wanted to get it out, get it live first. Sure. And then once we get, a little bit of attention, the fact that we've launched it, I'm curious, I'm gonna ask other buddies of mine and business owners, hey, how would you feel? What would you contribute? What can you do? I think this can be a great thing for the area, and I'm willing to work it and put my time and energy into it to make it something successful. But we're starting off kind of small and just kind of seeing where it goes.
I mean, just out of spite, I would go to that one school that said no, and I would try to just shove as many applicants in that process as I can, just out of spite. But that's just me to say, listen, here you go.
I'm pretty spiteful. I'm going to make it known that I'm really disappointed.
I would plant my flag right there.
Yeah. So it could be a really good thing. So
sounds like a great
avenue.
For it. Yeah,
I'm excited for it.
Good for you.
Trades were good for me. Treated me and my family well. And it can be a great thing for a lot of other people, and we've got to start switching that narrative.
Yeah.
We need doctors, lawyers. You need a certain percentage of the population to go to a 4-year school and get their degree. But stop telling these kids that everybody has to go or they're going to be a failure. It doesn't make sense.
I think the thing that we have to try to reorganize, I'll ask you a question. When you think of what is a career or what jobs are career worthy, what would you say to that?
I mean, in general, anything that you enjoy doing that provides a living for you and your family.
And
you could be a garbage man.
Yep.
You can be a surgeon. You can be a teacher. You can be a truck driver. It's whatever you do that puts food on the table, that you feel good about, you feel productive. To me, that's a career.
And that should be it. I feel that a lot of people have the misconception that careers are only doctors, lawyers, accountants, and very, very capped.
Absolutely.
We need to break that cap and really redefine what that career is to be anything that you can do to provide for your family and to make you happy.
Sure.
Going to a job that is miserable, that you hate, but you have to be there because you have student loan debt is not a career.
It's like being handcuffed.
Yeah.
It really is. And the narrative is starting to flip. It's starting to switch a little bit, but it's like anything. It takes time. It really does. But I am all for anybody doing whatever they want to do in life, as long as it's not hurting other people and you're not bleeding, you're not living off the government for your entire life. Whatever you want to do that puts food on your table and makes you happy, that's your career. That's what you should do.
And the first thing you jump into might not be that.
No.
And it's okay to make a change.
Absolutely. You don't have to stick with it.
I didn't want to be a teacher, so I made a change.
Yeah. And you thought you wanted to be one for a long time.
For a long time. I went into construction and I realized that I didn't want to do residential remodeling, so I made a change.
Sure.
You can make a change.
And sometimes I think people are afraid to take that leap.
It's a huge fear.
There's people that are going to retire this year in a job that they've hated their entire life because they were too afraid to make that change. They were too afraid to miss a week's pay to make that leap, to switch a job. And not everybody has. I'm a risk taker.
Yep.
I am. I've had a bunch of different businesses. I've done pretty good. I've failed at some, but I wasn't afraid to fail. And
Yep.
some people are afraid to fail and they won't make that leap because of the fear.
100%. And unfortunately, it caps a lot of people at that point.
Sure.
Caps a lot of people.
And that fear, parents will instill in their children. And say, listen, I went to a 4-year school. I got this corporate job. I've been at the same, job for 30 years. You should do the same because that's the safe bet.
Well, that's what everyone's directed to.
Sure.
Safe bet.
But the safe bet is being able to pivot and provide for yourself and your family no matter what. I will never go broke. I will never go broke. You can beat me down. You can take whatever I have right now. I'll build it back up again because I can work. I know how. I'm handy. It might be doing something I don't necessarily want to do, but I have the skills to do a lot of different things. But when you funnel these kids through an education system and then into a 4-year school and say, okay, well, now you're going to be a psychologist or you're going to be an art teacher, and you don't give them, diverse skills and other opportunities, then they're stuck.
I also think that someone like yourself who's had multiple businesses, everyone has a work ethic. I just feel that people who trust themselves and go in a direction but realize that it's not working have a different work ethic to change directions and get into something else than, some other people out there that just might run an 8 to 5, 9 to 5 job and, just go in and punch a clock and then punch out.
Sure. Yeah. We had a gentleman on, Michael Brown, a couple of weeks ago. He worked for a vaccine manufacturer, and when things got weird during COVID, he was given an ultimatum and he left. And he worked for them, I want to say it was like 10, 13 years, something like that. And that was his career. That's what he was doing until he was given a choice and he made one, and he's never been happier. He owns his own media production company. He's working for himself. He was afraid, to make the leap, but he did it, and it's worked out for him. So
got to trust in yourself.
Yeah.
And not a lot of people do that, I feel.
For sure.
They don't trust in themselves. They don't trust in their own work ethic. They don't trust in their own tenacity to, like you said, I'm never going to be broke because I'm always going to be able to do something and be tenacious.
Right. I might not be a multimillionaire if if I lose everything, but my kids will never starve.
Right.
I know how to work, and I'll do it because I'm also not. I have a lot of pride in a lot of things, but I'm not too proud to do something that I don't want to do to make a living. Some people, I'm not gonna do that. That's above me, or I'll only drive a new truck. I won't work for you if you got old shit. I'm not too proud. If I needed cash and my kids needed shoes on their feet, I will take whatever job. I'll sort garbage at the landfill. I don't give a shit. Some people are too proud to do what it takes, so they sit home doing nothing and fall farther behind.
And I think we all know one or two people that are like that.
Sure.
And you go, literally, you're sitting home doing nothing instead of at least making minimum wage.
Doing something.
Do something.
And you don't have to stay there, but start.
I was, I believe it was one that you just posted. The young kid talking about, you got to have that person in your corner that gives you the tough news from time to time and smacks you in the face. Just get out there and start doing it.
Anthony, yeah,
start doing it.
Yeah, he was telling his friends were asking him advice, and he said, "You guys are just sitting around. You're not doing shit. Like, you're not just gonna say, oh, I've got this bright idea, and then make $1 million with your first business.
It's going to be a grind.
You have to just start somewhere, for sure.
And I think a lot of people now, think that they deserve the $1 million right off the bat.
Entitlement is a bad thing.
People feel that they deserve it, that they're entitled to it because this is what, an influencer is telling them on TikTok or something.
Sure.
But meanwhile, you look at, the people, and I'll bring it back to the construction industry or just any industry in general, most business owners, building it from the ground up, who have been tenacious, who have, hit the walls but figured out how to either go through them or go over them and to not be stopped, and now have multi-million-dollar companies that they built from nothing.
Sure.
So,
and a lot of times that comes from failure, because you fail and you need to do it better the next time. If I gave up every time I failed, I wouldn't be sitting here with you right now. Last year I was not a podcast host. It was a big deal for me to do this, and I don't really think I'm that good, but some people tell me that they like listening to it. But if you just, every time, if something doesn't go your way, or it sucks, or it's too hard, or you fail and you gave up forever, you'd get nowhere.
I'll bring it back to this. That's the one thing that, on a producer side, like myself, this industry isn't for the weak.
No.
I walk into, on average, probably 30 different businesses a week. Hey, how are you? Can we talk? No. Okay. Hey, how are you? Can we talk? No. Okay. Hey, how are you? Can we talk? No. It's, you're told no a lot.
Sure.
And you fail a lot. And you work an insurance proposal. Here we go. I just put 4 months into this, 3 months into this. What do you say? No. It's a lot of failure, but it's out of that failure, you figure out who you are as an individual, and you figure out what you need to adjust in yourself, in your process, to turn that around to a yes. Sure, I'll talk with you. Sure, we'll go with you. Sure, we've been insured with you for 15 years. Whatever it might be.
You're learning. Every time you're told no, you learn something. You learn how to approach that next business maybe a little bit differently to get their attention a little bit differently. Or you have used that no as some other fuel to get the next one to be a yes.
Not everyone has that introspective thought to figure out, well, how do I change that?
No, absolutely not. And that not everybody should be an entrepreneur. Not everybody should be a business owner. Some people are better off, doing the tasks like as an employee. That's just the way it is. Some people aren't built for sales. I can't. I'm used, I can be told no, that's fine, but I'm not a very good cold caller. I'm kind of like the idea, hey, if you want to call our business, great. If you don't, but when I walk in and I'm told no, I'm like, this isn't for me. And some people, they'll just keep beating their head off the wall, doing the same thing over and over instead of learning it, using it as a learning experience.
There's a fine line between stubbornness, doing the same thing over and over again, pounding your head off the wall.
That's the definition of insanity.
And then figuring out how to slowly and correctly adjust that to get you past the wall.
Sure.
So,
and blazing your own trail and doing what feels good for you and fits you is good. My one example, I think it's come up on another podcast. When I was probably like 2004, I was already doing construction. We were doing some house framing, roofing and stuff, but the eBay craze was coming around. And I had this, I saw different businesses across the country. They were opening up these eBay stores where they would you could bring your stuff and it would get sold for you and then make a profit. So I opened a store in Clark Summit called Easy Drop. I don't think it was around for like 8-9 months and I couldn't pay the bills anymore. It was a miserable failure. I put a ton of money into remodeling the shop and then realized there was no profit in it at the volume level that we were doing it. Somebody would bring in an item, you'd sell it for $80, you take 20%. You know, you were taking $15, $20 after doing like 2 hours worth of work. It just wasn't worth it. But I saw other people being successful at it, and I thought, oh, well, I can do it too. And that was the first like time I got a reality check. Like, stop chasing, you know, the shiny object that looks good for somebody else. Like, you got to stay in your lane and grind it out. And I wasn't making a ton of money, you know, as a roofer or being a framer, but I knew if I kept grinding and I kept on that path, then eventually it would work out. And that led me to the other businesses that we eventually had.
I got to ask you, you know, what is your stance on goal setting? You know, we as individuals can grind and grind and grind and grind and grind and grind, but there's got to be a moment to where we sit back, and whether it's a weekly goal, whether it's a quarterly goal, whether it's a yearly goal, whether it's a 5-year goal. I mean, what is your stance on how to set those? Do you set those? And how do you reevaluate those, and when do you reevaluate those?
My style is pretty loose. I don't formally set something, but I will look at something more. Like, I won't set like a detailed goal, but I'll just look at something and say, I'm going to do that. Like with our Triaxle app, you know, we're in year 2 here now. We're totally switched things up. We're rebuilding the app. Our first one wasn't what we wanted it to be, but we got what we got, and we're starting over. But my goal, my vision for Triaxle is something really great. I set more broad goals, I guess. Like, for me, I know Triaxle app is going to be a huge success someday. It didn't hit the first year. I spent a lot of money to develop it once, only for me to realize, you know, we missed some shit. It's not that great. My vision and mine and Doug's vision for it was great, but we didn't get that across to the first developer. We didn't get the right first developer. Did we fail? No, we didn't fail. We're learning.
You tried.
We tried, and we're doing it again. So we're it's still the same business, but we're starting the process over again. It's the right business decision for us to rebuild our app and come out a second time. To try to market and go with what we have, it's a mediocre product. It's not that impressive. You know, maybe for somebody the first time looking at it, it could be. The concept is great. What we want it to be is great. Our vision for it is really great, but the usable product, the end product, just isn't there. So we're doing it again. So I guess to answer your question, I have this vision for Triaxle. I'll tell you in 10 years if I hit it or not. But I think it's going to be something phenomenal. In fact, I know it's going to be something phenomenal. But you have to keep working the plan, and you can't get shot down the first time like we did, and then just be like, well, sucks. It's just not going to work, and give up. I can't give up now. I sold off my companies. I can't.
Yep.
I can't. I mean, I could go back to what I was doing.
Sorting garbage at the landfill.
I'll do it. I don't care, man. I don't care. But I'm not very good at like writing down a goal or a metric and saying, okay, by, you know, June of this year, you have to be at this specific point, excuse me, with a sales number or I keep things very like loose. I don't do a lot of planning on paper. Everything's kind of in my head.
Yep.
If I tried to get it out of my head and explain to people, they think I was a wacko and a nut job, but it's always worked for me. So I do what I do, and
Yep.
I kind of just run my plan, you know, and that doesn't work for anybody. I know I have friends, I know other people, if they don't have that detailed in an outline or what the process is going to be, and be able to check themselves. And if you didn't hit goal 3, well, then you can't keep going to 4. You got to either step back or give up or whatever. I just kind of have this vision that it's going to be great. I know it's going to be great. And maybe in somebody's eyes in 10 years, it won't be great, but in mine, it will be. And that's kind of all that matters for me.
Good. Was it the same with the construction side?
Construction.
When you were more focused and you had all of your operations going, did you have goals to grow the business by 5% every year or anything like that?
Just get better.
Yeah.
Just get better. I never put numbers on it. Initially what I wanted to do when I was younger, I would see like the Lindy's and the Leewards and those companies. My vision was I wanted to have like a big heavy highway, like excavation company type operation. That was what I thought looked cool. It looked neat to have all that equipment. I started off as a roofer. Then I started framing houses and doing some remodeling. So it's hard when you're making the income of a roofer to go out and buy millions of dollars worth of excavation equipment to start the excavation side. I didn't necessarily want to be on roofs my entire life doing that, but I just kept doing what I had to do to keep moving forward. Then, I started my business officially in 2003. So then 2007, 2008, recession hits. Our market here locally took a hit, which we made it through just fine, but it wasn't a great time for growth at that point. We kind of just maintained. So what I wanted to do was have an excavation company, which I eventually had an iteration of that, a version of that. But I couldn't just stop my roofing and carpentry business and take out a huge loan and start this excavation company, which I had no experience in, no idea how to, to do the work. It was a hard barrier to break because you're bringing in income. You're doing what you know you can do consistently, what you're getting calls for consistently, what people are demanding from you. But to look at it and be like, I want more. I want to do more. That's kind of a hard line to follow. And
then to take on more in a profitable manner as well, though.
In a profitable manner. And a lot of years I spent, I didn't make a lot of money. I was reinvesting. I didn't personally make a lot of money. I was reinvesting everything. And by the time we sold off, we had a handful of different businesses. And the way I did it, I'm going to tell you, it's not for everybody. It's just not. I was very diverse, wore a lot of different hats, did a lot of different stuff, refused to, to myself. I didn't hire more employees because I thought, well, why would I hire them? I can just do their job myself. I know how to work. I did a lot of
done right. Do it yourself.
Yeah.
Right?
did a lot of 14, 16, 18-hour days trying to keep up. So my method, it doesn't work for anybody. Not everybody can handle the chaotic diversity that we had going on, but I loved it. I thrived on it. I'm actually kind of going crazy now because
being so laid back.
Yeah. And I got rid of the chaos. I thrived on the chaos. If I have 100 tasks to do in a day, I'll get them all done. But if I have 2, I might not get them both done because that's just who I am.
Procrastination steps in, and
I thrive on being busy. That's just who I am. And now with our app, it's a step back. It's not the hecticness, the chaotic, lifestyle that I had before. It's been great. It's given me more time with my kids, my family. I get to put my kids on the bus in the morning. That's been fun. But in our redevelopment stage here, there's only so much that we can do. We're not as busy. We're not doing marketing. We're not doing sales. We're waiting for our new app to come out this fall, and then we're going to be back in that. So right now, it's kind of makes me a little bit crazy to not be as chaotically, hectically busy as I was for so many years, and that's a sickness for me.
Yeah.
But that's who I am, and I accept that, and that's the type of shit that I like. So,
and it takes a particular individual, a certain type of person to have that controlled chaos go on.
Sure.
And I think every successful entrepreneur out there, whether it is a business owner, whether it is, a salesman, whatever it might be, they need to be able to handle that controlled chaos a little bit.
Go ahead.
And I just feel, getting back to the school side of things and the educational side of things, and, getting kids out into the field doing these internships, that could be a great way to introduce them to controlled chaos. And, so many people have a bad connotation when you say chaos, but a controlled chaos allows you to adapt when needed, allows you to problem solve when needed, allows you to take a step back and go, let me think about what I have to do real quick, and then make a judgment and go, but just make that judgment and commit to it and don't bounce all around.
Sure.
And I think a lot of the issue now is there's just no real controlled chaos. Life is busy, life is hectic, whether you're 12 or whether you're, 55, there's a lot going on. If we can get the new generation to understand that controlled chaos, through sports, through these different things, I think it could be extremely helpful.
Sure.
Moving forward.
And I say chaos. I don't I say chaos because it's what comes out, but just being busy and
Sure.
always moving.
Yep.
Why does a multimillionaire, 50 years old, really successful, has a great couple companies, why do they start another one? It's the challenge. For me, it was the challenge. That's what I always liked. I thrived on the challenge. I like looking at something or dreaming something up, even with Triaxle. What I want to do with Triaxle is a major feat. Nobody else has ever done it in the world that I know of. But when I see that, that's what drives me. That's what makes me get up every day and go. When I have something to do and I have something to work towards, that's my focus. That's where I'm going. And somebody that's already comfortable and has money in the bank, why they start another business, they get bored.
Yeah.
They need to have another challenge.
A challenge.
When my businesses got on cruise control, I started another one. And I wasn't trying to be greedy. I wasn't trying to piss other people off in the area that might have been doing the same thing that I got into. I saw a need, an opportunity, and it was more the challenge that I needed for myself to just keep pushing myself. That's what it is for me, but it doesn't work for everybody,
Gets back to that fear aspect.
It does. And that's one thing I've not really ever had is a lot of fear.
Yeah.
My friends from back in the day will tell you, no, he didn't have a lot of fear. He wasn't really afraid of much. I'm afraid of a lot of things now. I'm afraid for my kids, a lot of stuff, but for myself and business and stuff, you got to go for it, man. If you don't try, you don't know. That's my attitude.
Well, and that's a huge part of it. You said his name, Anthony.
Anthony Pirelli was the one, who
just
said, just try, just start.
Just try, just start. If you fail, so be it.
Right.
It's better than just sitting there on your ass not doing a thing.
Sure. A lot of people are afraid to fail because of what it looks like to other people. And you have these influencers, you look at an influencer, everything's perfect for them. They got nice cars, they make a lot of money.
Half of that stuff
It's
is
all
rented
bullshit.
and it's all fake.
It's all bullshit. And the internet is the worst thing to ever happen to insecure,
There's
people.
a hangar out in California that people go take a picture on a plane as a private jet, but it's parked there just simply so you can rent the plane out for like an hour at a time so you can take pictures to make yourself look good.
Yeah.
It's fake.
These people taking, selfies with Lamborghinis behind them. They can't even afford to pay their rent half the time, but half the world thinks they're these wealthy, it's all perception. And that's why you just got to stay in your own lane and do your own thing and do what's best for you. You know? So we've gotten way off topic, way off subject here. Is there anything else you want to talk about insurance-wise here, which is why we brought you on the show?
It's for anyone getting into the business, I guess I just have to go back to what we started it off with is either anyone starting in the business looking to get insurance or anyone who's been in the business and has an insurance representative. Just make sure that not only you have a good relationship with them, that you can call them, that you can talk to them, but that they understand what you're doing and they're understanding how to properly protect you as you do work, as you grow, and as you go through day to day. As a business owner, if you have one employee or if you have 100 employees, you're still providing for people. You're still helping out others around you. The last thing that anyone wants to see happen is a catastrophic claim, make a business go bankrupt, make a business close its doors. It happens all the time. And I'm not saying insurance is going to fully protect that, but at least it's a start.
Sure.
Yeah.
And a lot of people, and myself guilty, I'm included, you look at the cost of the insurance and that's too much. I can't afford it. Bottom line is include it in your costs. You have to charge for it, and if you don't get one job because you're too expensive, then go chase another one, because you have to have the right coverage for the business that you're doing.
There are fixed costs and there are variable costs when it comes to insurance. Your fixed costs are going to be your auto insurance. It's going to be your property. It's going to be your commercial umbrella. Those are your fixed. It's going to be your equipment costs, what those are to insure. You will know all those up front. The variable costs are going to be your general liability and your workers' comp. Those are based on payroll for the most part. You should be able to put together a job cost spreadsheet that you know exactly what your insurance cost is going to be for a particular job, so you can budget it into your bids. Just understand what those variable costs are so you can build them in and understand that you're going to pay more if your payroll goes up.
Sure.
But just understanding them and knowing what they are and knowing how they change and knowing how they're affected is going to be huge. One thing that I got to hit on is experience mod for workers' comp. A lot of people ask, how can I control insurance costs going up? We talked about NVR checks, do driver checks, do safety meetings, do toolbox talks, everything that you can do as a business owner to keep safety on the forefront of your employees' face or employees' minds is going to be extremely beneficial to you as an owner, because if they're thinking safety, they might second guess taking that turn with 7 cars coming down the road. They might second guess, rushing a job to get it done by 5 o'clock. They might second guess a decision that they have that in the end will protect you.
Sure. Be proactive.
But the way that you can control insurance costs as a business owner, especially on the workers' compensation side, is your experience mod. As your experience mod goes up, your cost goes up just because you're having claims. Everything that you can do to try to mitigate that is only going to help keep those costs down. If you can, have higher deductibles on vehicles. Obviously, someone that has 2 vehicles and is doing $500,000 in sales can't do it. But someone that's doing $15 million, if you're willing to pay the first $5,000 out of pocket, don't have $1,000 deductible on, your property or your vehicles.
Sure.
It's just going to help in the long run.
Absolutely. Good advice.
It's not. I still go to sleep when I read insurance documents. Even people in the industry, we don't hate it, but we don't fully enjoy it either.
Yeah, it's a necessary evil of owning a business.
Exactly. It's a necessary evil. Just pay attention to what you're paying on.
Sure.
And make sure that you partner with the right people.
Right. And have the right people around you. It always comes down to people, whether it's
100%
employees, subcontractors, vendors, relationships, and working with the right people make all the difference.
I will tell you this from our industry, doing what I've done for the last 8 years. You pay your insurance premiums. You don't know 10 to 1 what the hell is in that insurance document.
Nope.
You're literally paying because you trust me.
I'm relying on you.
Exactly.
To tell me. I don't have time, nor do I have the interest in reading that shit.
100%.
Joe, is this what I need? Yes, Matt, it's what you need. Okay, I trust you.
And we are selling trust. Unfortunately, there's a lot of crooks out there in this industry that talk a big game that don't really back it up. But make sure you try to find someone that you can trust.
Sure.
And have that discussion with that will tell you the truth. This is going to go up. This is going to go down. We're going to have some bad discussions. You're going to be pissed at me based on some of these discussions that we're going to have, but I'm going to shoot you straight the entire time and just do the same.
That's how I am, honestly. Don't give me the runaround. If you got to tell me bad news, just spit it out. Just get it over with. Don't dance around, So that's all good advice. Well, we had a great chat. I really appreciate you coming on.
All over the place.
We went all over the place, but I think it was all interesting subject matter. So personally, I've been very pleased working with you and your company.
I appreciate that.
The rates have been fair. Your knowledge has been great, and I feel like I'm in good hands. So what's your coverage area, and how do people get a hold of you?
Yeah, so the agency is Mirabito-Gresham Insurance and Bonds Agency. We're based out of New York, but we write in 40 states. Our closest office here is our Vestal office, but we run 2 offices out of Syracuse, 1 out of Rochester. My coverage territory is pretty much all up and down the East Coast if people touch base. I got a client in North Carolina. I have one in Texas. I have a couple here in PA, and obviously clients in New York as well. Our focus is contractors, commercial insurance programs, property, liability, workers' comp, auto, umbrella, equipment, inland marine, commercial bonding, employee benefits. Our big focus, though, is on the construction industry, just because it is such a service-intense industry in regards to contract reviews, in regards to bonding requirements, in regards to certificate requests. Obviously, a contractor who is requesting a certificate needs it so they can get on a job, so they can get paid. There's no reason why a certificate of insurance should take more than 24 hours to get in your hands. If you're a contractor with an insurance carrier or an insurance agency and it's taking you 2 weeks to get a certificate, there's other people out there that will do the job much better than what you're getting, because it's such a service-based industry.
Sure.
But yeah, I'm all over.
Okay, cool. And like anything else, I mean, there's good contractors and there's bad contractors.
100%.
There's good insurance agencies and there's bad insurance agencies.
Yep.
You guys have a big presence, obviously through a great reputation and doing the right thing for many years. So, I would encourage anybody, if you're looking for somebody, or you're just not necessarily, everybody wants to shop around here and there, but it's not always about the price. It's about making sure you have the right coverage. But anybody that maybe, if you're not happy or you're looking to switch it up, give Joe a call. I think he'd be more than happy talking to him.
Quotes are free, no obligation. We can see what we can do. If we can partner, great. If not, so be it. We shake hands, and 3 or 4 years down the road, we try it again.
You never know. Joe,
I appreciate you having me on, man.
Yeah, I really appreciate coming on.
It's been a good time.
This was a lot of fun. We'll have to do it again sometime.
It was my first podcast, so it's new to me. So
you did
worked
good.
out well.
We'll bring you back another time, and we'll solve more of the world's problems.
Educational problems.
Educational problems. Yeah, a lot of work to do there. All right, man. Thanks again.
I appreciate it. Thank you.
Have a good day.